Sometimes we see account managers are stellar performers and they do such a good job that the agency owner wants them in all facets of their business, in sales, in strategy. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your opinions. I want you there on the sales calls. And we kind of have to say like, whoa. We're good at what we do and we need to be empowered in that seat so that clients see us as that person, not that person that's everywhere in your agency.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
Welcome back to the show. I'm thrilled to have the lovely Jenna and Jillian on the show today. So welcome, ladies.
Thanks, Tay. So excited to be here.
Yes,
excited.
So Jenna and Jill, they have been here at Dot for years.
Years and years.
I've seen it all. And they are the ones who manage our cams and our agencies. So something that we've been talking a lot about together is how an agency owner can get the most out of their account manager. And this applies not to just our own account managers, but if you're an agency owner and you have an account manager, obviously you want to know how to get the most out of this role. And it's one of these roles that can be a little confusing, a little bit gray, and agency owners don't always know where that line is in the sand in terms of what is the account manager responsible for versus everyone else in the agency. So we wanted to kind of debunk this on this show, but excited to dig into it.
Same.
Yeah. So what would you guys say? Let's kind of talk about what really should fall under the account manager scope, because I know most agency owners get confused. Like, is it sales? Is it strategy? From your perspective, what should fall under the scope?
It's a great question, because where does the line fall? Because we're responsible and have ownership over accounts for clients. So really, where does that start and stop? And sometimes that can be a gray line, especially for agency owners who have been doing all of it themselves, right? It feels like it falls under, one job description. However, keeping the right people in the right seats, keeping a focus on clients, really make sure that you can really dive into the pain points that clients are facing and really build a strong relationship. So it is important to outline what you want your account manager to be doing, how that's going to benefit your business, and how that's going to contribute to your overall goals. So that's always a great place to start, is just understanding what do you need out of this role.
Yeah, I love that. I think as well, maybe this is more so with our team, but our account managers are really good at knowing where they need to spend their time for the agency to see those benefits. So they are not the people that will just say yes to any task that you're dumping on them. They're going to say, this is a good place for me to spend my time and energy versus this is something that maybe a VA could be doing or a strategist or whatever that looks like. So I would say typically the things that we're looking at to say this does not fall within our scope: sales, building strategy. Of course, we understand strategy. That's really important and a big part of our role. But I often say to my agency owners, you've come to us because you're trying to do it all. So why would we do the same?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think everything that we do in agencies is through the lens of account management, through the lens of how does this make the client experience better? How am I thinking of the client and everything that I do? So really, we want to make sure that the things we're focusing on are things that are part of that lens. So project management, client retention, happiness, being that face, being that relationship person, anything that kind of takes away from that role, that's something where a good account manager would start to question, is this worth my time, worth my energy? Could this go somewhere else? I think a lot of what we see and a lot of the conversations we have with agencies are about trying to get the right people in the right seats. And that's often what we see successful for agency owners, is having those people doing the right things. So a good account manager would question what they're doing and make sure that they are, spending their time in the right places.
Yeah. So something that we hear from sometimes our team is that they become this dumping ground for all the tasks. It's almost like, oh, who's going to do it? The account manager is going to do it, because I don't know, maybe it's partially because we're very yes people and we want to help and we want to be that person. But how do we prevent an account manager from being this dumping ground of all these tasks?
Oh, it's definitely outlining scope. It's definitely getting clear on what the goals are of the position. And again, documenting that and making sure that the account manager is accountable to it, but also creating that delineation between roles. Because when everyone is responsible for something, then no one is responsible for that task.
Yeah.
So it's important to know who is actually taking care of it. And that does fall on the account manager most times because they're responsible for the account. They have ownership over it. They're project managing as well. So they are the ones that are holding everything together, as we say, the glue that keeps clients and agency work together. So it's really very important to make sure that we're having those conversations constantly about workload, especially if you have an account manager that is inside of your agency fractionally. Sometimes agency owners, sometimes they won't understand, okay, how much time will this take? And a really strong account manager can do something in a shorter amount of time than what a newer account manager is, because you have to be comfortable with it. Being able to proactively problem solve through problems, of course, is going to speed up that process. So you are able to take on more. So just like you were saying, Jill, like a good account manager is going to be questioning what is on their plate and also saying, hey, I can take on more because we got through this, big client issue or client onboarding. So now I'm ready for another client. So having that autonomy and ownership over the position as well is really important, just to make sure that we're not getting into scope creep.
Yeah. Yeah, I would echo that. I would say, again, a good account manager understands that certain things need to be done to make clients happy. So I won't lie. Sometimes there's times when we're writing copy or, media buying or doing something simple because we know that might need to happen. Maybe the media buyer is on vacation and it needs to get done and we know how to do it. Fine. But I think where we try to caution agency owners is really understanding that those tasks should not be the expectation and they shouldn't be consistent because that's pulling us away from our area of focus. So we're fine to do things every once in a while that need to get done because that's kind of the fuzzy line of being an account manager, is just being there to push things along. But I think, again, a good account manager will have a conversation to say, this really isn't where I should be putting my area of focus. And I would also say our account managers are also really good at identifying what other roles you might need in your agency as well. They can come to you and say, look, I've been working with the team. I can see that you're still very in the weeds. I think we need a strategist, even fractionally to start, just something to kind of keep things moving, get this off of people's plates. So yeah, I would say there is a level of scrappiness required, but ultimately we want to make sure that we're focusing on those things that are keeping clients happy and retained and building that relationship.
Yeah, I think it's really important to also call out something that we like to do with all of our team members, and an expectation that we have is a CEO mindset, right? So we're coming into these agencies and we're working as their partners, right? So we have your vested interest in mind because we want to make sure that you're thriving. You're coming to us because you need support, and we want to take that on because we absolutely love what we do.
Yeah.
So when we come into an agency, we want to work with you on working through those problems, giving those suggestions, doing audits to make sure that everything is up to code the way that we would see best practices, and giving you all of our tips and tricks because we want to make agency life easier, especially for clients, especially for team members.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of situations where scope creep does happen. And I'm sure there's some trends that you're seeing when you're chatting with the account managers.
Yeah.
So let's say an account manager is coming to you and you're starting to see some red flags of scope. What are those red flags? What are the things maybe early days that you're saying to yourself, we're going to have to keep an eye on that because scope creep's probably coming here soon?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think for me, one thing that I always kind of flag in my head is our team wears many hats conversation. Often I think agency owners understand that's not ideal, but sometimes you're in that state where it's just that's how we need to do things to get things done. But to Jenna's point again, if everyone's wearing these hats, then they're nobody's hats. Nobody owns them. So I would say that. I would say account managers picking up for the holes in terms of the roles in the agency as well. So they don't have a copywriter, they don't have a graphic designer, they don't have these people to keep things moving, and account managers, their job is to make sure the projects get done and that things move quickly. So often they end up picking up these things. And I would say on the other side of that as well, sometimes we see account managers are stellar performers and they do such a good job that the agency owner wants them in all facets of their business, in sales, in strategy. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your opinions. I want you there on the sales calls. And we kind of have to say like, whoa. We're good at what we do. And we need to sort of be empowered in that seat so that clients see us as that person, not that person that's everywhere in your agency.
Yeah. And similar to the point that you made earlier about, you brought us on because you're doing all of it. Why would we come in and do the same thing, right? I think another thing that we do see sometimes that raises a flag when we first start with agencies, sometimes they make a service offering pivot quite early. Maybe sometimes they see, okay, well, this person coming in, again, very capable. So, you know what, now as an agency owner, I have more time to focus on my business. So now we're making a pivot to a different direction, maybe for service line offerings. And sometimes that can mean that, clients are going to be juggled around and maybe our scope might be changing a little bit. Right. Kind of leaning into that sales support a little bit, getting into maybe a new service offering. So they're having, our account managers jump on these calls with prospective clients to talk through what does it look like to onboard with us and, start building that relationship right away. And that can kind of be a slippery slope into getting into more of a sales lead position and support there too. So just things that you need to be aware of. We're there to be, again, scrappy and to support in whatever way we can, but needing to stay inside of the right seat for our position so that we can really build those relationships and keep that retention going.
So when an agency owner comes to you and they are that person who's doing it all and they're saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And then they think that an account manager is going to solve all their problems. How do you onboard that account manager into the agency so that the account manager is going to get the best results for the agency owner? Is it expectations with the agency owner? Is it, looking at their org chart? How do you kind of look at it as a whole picture? And maybe an agency owner is listening and they're in the process of hiring their own account manager. How can you bring this person on, set those expectations from the beginning so that we don't get to this scope creep point,
Yeah. I think one thing that we do is we really look at okay, where do you feel like your business is bleeding right now? Where do we need to jump in and help right away? Maybe it's you have a few clients that are on the verge of churning and you really need somebody to get in there and save that relationship. That's going to be a priority for us. I would say something that does happen with account management is people think, okay, I need somebody to talk to my clients. I need them to manage my clients. So let me bring them on to do that. And then maybe they're working with 30 clients. They're in meetings all day long. They're pushing projects along, but they actually don't have the time to think about what they're doing critically and build processes and SOPs to support them. So a conversation we often have in capacity planning with agencies is okay, how much percentage of time do you want your account manager focusing on clients versus focusing on building the things that can support them? Because ultimately, if we have the time to look at how we're doing things and make things more optimized, then we can actually take on more clients. But we need that space to be able to do that. So I would say sitting down, having a conversation about, okay, what could this look like? Maybe it's 70% client account management, 30% processes and optimization. Where will that get us in a month from now? And just being able to reevaluate those things, I think, is important and actually stick to that percentage as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Really empowering CAMs as well to have those conversations and continue to have the conversations about what am I doing? How is it improving? And working with the agency owner to keep it evergreen. Yeah. Because agency life will change on the drop of a hat. And we like to be scrappy. We like to pivot. We like to support agencies however they need. And sometimes we need to shift our priorities and our projects so that we can, maybe tackle a new service line that's coming down the pipeline that we can support on. So just keeping the overall agency goals top of mind, as we're working through that, but sticking to our scope, sticking to those expectations and just making sure that they're reinforced from the very beginning. Because it's really hard to set an expectation and a boundary after you've been, maybe giving a little more than maybe you should have been. And as people pleasers, that's what we want to do. We want to see those results, and having, this position, it's really hard to quantify the things that we do sometimes. So giving that extra mile is sometimes the way that we feel like we're contributing even more than what maybe our scope is saying.
So how often would you reevaluate this with an agency owner if they're listening and maybe they're thinking, oh, maybe I need to really think about how much I'm doing with my account manager where the scope creep might be happening. How often should you be reassessing this? And what does that look like if you're the agency owner doing this yourself? Because I know our agency owners have you guys to do this with, but like if I'm the agency owner, how do I kind of work with my account manager to figure out if it's working well or not?
Yeah, I would say like even just starting with a defined scope is huge. Having something where it's really clear what the account manager is supposed to be doing, having them revisit it, you know, I would say on a monthly basis. But I would say even bigger than that, something that I think a lot of agency owners miss is filling in the account managers on the goals and the direction of the business. Because the more that they're empowered with that information, the more they're able to take ownership of their role and make sure that it fits with the direction of the business and where it's going. So if you're able to have conversations and say like, look, we're not in a great position with clients. I need to focus on sales. I need to focus on business development. Then they can pivot to say, okay, I really need to make sure I'm showing clients some love. And I need to make sure that that's my priority. So I would say trusting your account manager to own their role and to know what's best, but also giving them the insight and the information to be able to make informed decisions as well.
Yeah, and even having that information about, you know, you as an agency owner even needing to pivot more to sales to bring, you know, in more leads, that can really help an account manager understand, okay, maybe I need to give different updates, right? To make sure that the agency owner knows what's going on in their agency. So while they are focusing on bringing in more sales, then I can let them know what's going on, you know, the client side so that they can have peace of mind for that as well. So more transparency, more, you know, open communication, because we are a partnership, right? It's a team mindset. We're all on the same team. We're all working towards the same goals. So share, contribute, work on quarterly goals even too. That's something that we like to do, especially starting out with agencies. We create this dashboard of goals as they're onboarding and then as they're, you know, ongoing in their partnerships, just so that we are focusing on those goals so that we can help, you know, create automations or efficiencies wherever we can, not just for our positions, but for the entire agency.
Yeah. I think too, like at the end of the day, we're all just people and you should be able to have honest conversations. And sometimes as the agency owner, you need to be that person that's able to say, listen, you can come to me with any feedback. If you feel like something you're doing isn't the right thing for your role, let's talk about it. Often the conversations we're having with our account managers are to be those people to say, hey, how am I doing? Checking in about how things are progressing and feedback. But if you're kind of trying to tackle it on your own as an agency owner, I would say, don't be afraid to just have those real human conversations. Because chances are if you're saying that you're open and you're willing to hear if something isn't right, then they're going to come to you and share that versus just trying to eat it or figure it out. So I think that's huge as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like leading in that communication is really helpful because anyone who is working inside of agency life, like, you know, it's really fast and busy. And if, you know, you have one misstep, you know, that could be buried under a bunch of different work. So when you need to have those conversations, it's better to do it as quickly as possible so that you can pivot to the right direction in performance.
Yeah. It's about creating culture, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like where you're going with this because it really highlights the fact that an account manager is not just a butt in the seat. And I think in our industry, agency owners can sometimes think, oh, I just need to fill the seat of an account manager and then life will be good. But this role really is part of the leadership team.
It is.
They are a part of the whole agency. And it's not just, hey, you go over here and deal with clients. You need to be a part of these bigger conversations. And I think that is something I hope agency owners take away from this episode really is that you need to treat these account managers and put them up on a pedestal because they are really like helping drive the success of the agency.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, I mean, some agency owners come to us because they don't want to be in their business anymore. They want us to take care of as much as possible so that they can either, you know, go on vacation or spend more time with their family. So giving someone empowerment is going to get you out of that seat even faster.
100%.
Right. And that comes with time. And
it does. Trust. Building trust. It's hard to do.
So let's leave it with this. What's one thing you wish every agency owner knew before working with an account manager?
I think a really big overarching thing is just knowing that we really want to help, Right? I think that's something that sometimes can get missed because we're talking about, filling a seat and, we get into the minutia of the day to day that, we sometimes forget that, we all care about what we're doing. Like we show up every day and we want to do the best that we can. We build relationships with these clients, right? And we're also working, with your internal team every day on multiple different things. And we bond together through shared experiences and we want to do what's best for the agency. So sometimes I feel like, I think we all kind of get bogged down by the day to day and we forget that we're here because we enjoy what we do. And we want to continue to improve. So giving that autonomy and the empowerment really helps to really support like overall agency health, I think.
Yeah. I think my sentiment probably echoes what you're saying. Because account management is one of those things that it's not as easy to define and the role can look a little bit different in every agency. I think you have to be extra intentional about sitting down with your account manager and building out what does this role look like? What does success look like in this role? For a strategist, that's easy. The accounts do well. The clients are happy because they have good results. For a client account manager, of course, our goals are to have happy clients, but what does that look like? So being prepared to sit down and have a more detailed conversation about scope, about success, and about, getting there together.
Yeah. And your goals for that can look different than a different agency, right? It's not like you have to have, X retention rate and that's like, that should be your goal. What works for your agency? Like that's what you should be working towards. So getting very intentional, like you said, about what it looks like.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, this was a really great conversation. I learned a lot as well, really, about some of these flags that we might see in account management. And hopefully you learned a thing or two about how you can better work with account managers in your agency. We see a lot of this happening in the industry and we want to continue having these conversations. So in the next episode, we're really going to dig into client retention and what that means for your agency and how you can work with your account manager to improve client retention. So definitely stick around for the next one. But thank you so much for tuning in to another episode and we'll see you on the next one.
Cheers to happy clients.